Lily Reyes's papier-mâché volcano was only supposed to bubble politely. The recipe: 2 teaspoons of baking soda, a squirt of dish soap, a dash of food coloring, had worked flawlessly in the kitchen sink the night before. But on the gymnasium's folding table, under the glare of fluorescent lights and a row of curious fifth graders, she panicked and emptied the entire bottle of red dye into the plastic flask. Across the table, Benjamin Carter, with the earnest concentration of a junior chemist, added the second half of his own vinegar solution. His project was Comparative Volcanic Viscosity, a title he proudly printed in block letters on a trifold board. He didn't see Lily's handshake. He did, however, see the sudden surge of foamy scarlet rocket upward, swallow his own clay mountain, and arc in a perfect parabola toward the judge's table. Screams, a mix of delight and alarm, echoed through the gym. Red suds splattered across linoleum and lapped at the sneakers of parents who leapt back in choreographed horror. In the middle of the sticky tide stood 2 mortified children and 2 parents who had never met until that instant. Emma Reyes dropped her tote bag, raced forward with the last roll of paper towels, and found herself face to face with a stranger on the same trajectory. Daniel Carter was tall, broad-shouldered, and wielding a stack of cafeteria napkins like a shield. For a heartbeat they froze, suds swirling around their shoes, a volcano's worth of effervescence churning between them. "Team up?" Daniel offered, raising an eyebrow. "Absolutely," Emma replied, and together they plunged into the crimson froth. They mopped frantically. Emma dabbed dye from Lily's cheeks. Daniel sponged off Benjamin's glasses. Around them, other parents chuckled. The judges traded knowing looks, and Principal Watkins hurried to assure everyone that historically, no one had lost an eye at Greendale Elementary's science extravaganza. When the eruption finally subsided, the 4 of them surveyed the battlefield. Lily's papier-mâché mountain sagged like wet cardboard. Benjamin's meticulous charts were streaked with red rivulets. The judges approached. One offered a sympathetic smile, another a dampened clipboard. "I think the demonstration qualifies as extremely effective," the lead judge said with wry amusement. "Perhaps more explosive than required." The comment stung Lily. Tears pooled at the corners of her eyes, quick reflections of gym lights. Emma crouched to reassure her daughter, while Daniel rested a gentle hand on his son's shoulder. They exchanged that silent parental glance, a private telegraph that says, "We've got this, right?" Then faced their children. "Accidents happen in science," Emma announced, projecting confidence she didn't entirely feel. "The question is what we learn from them." Benjamin sniffed, wiping his glasses clean. "We could rebuild it," he said, voice small but determined. "Regional fairs in 6 weeks." Lily's head snapped up. "But the volcano's ruined." "Not necessarily," Daniel chimed in. "We just need sturdier materials and controlled reaction timing. Maybe dual chambers with delayed release." Emma arched an impressed eyebrow. "Dual chambers?" "Engineer by day," he admitted, half smile tugging at his mouth. "I design fluid systems." Lily and Benjamin exchanged looks that said, in the wordless code of children, "Our parents are weird, but maybe helpful." Lily lifted a dyed hand. "Can we try? Together?" 6 eyes pivoted to Principal Watkins, who was blotting red stains from her slacks. She sighed, equal parts exasperated and entertained. "If collaboration avoids any more eruptions in my gym, I'm in favor." Thus, in a swirl of misfired baking soda, a pact was formed. 2 kids would salvage a volcano, and 2 single parents, thrust into partnership by their children's bubbly disaster, would oversee the mission. The following Saturday, Emma drove Lily to Carter's house on Maple Street. It was an old Victorian converted into duplexes, Daniel and Benjamin rented the left half. Daniel greeted them on the porch wearing a sweatshirt dusted with sawdust. A portable workbench occupied the yard, cluttered with PVC pipes, epoxy, and what looked suspiciously like a leaf blower. "Welcome to our mad laboratory," he said. Inside, Emma discovered an apartment that balanced chaos and charm. Stacks of engineering magazines beside dragon-themed picture books, a whiteboard covered in formulas adjacent to a refrigerator, smothered in crayon drawings. It felt lived in, unpretentious, comfortable. They set up in the garage. Lily spread sketches across the concrete floor. Benjamin unfurled a detailed spreadsheet of eruption timing. Emma supplied homemade cookies and a first aid kit. Experience had taught her to anticipate minor explosions. Hours slipped by. They brainstormed and bickered. Lily argued for glitter lava. Benjamin insisted on accuracy to Mount St. Helens. Daniel demonstrated how a small diaphragm pump could push colored gel through clear tubing. Emma suggested layering gelatin to simulate magma chambers. Ideas intertwined, laughter bubbling up like calmer, friendlier eruptions. At dusk, once the kids dashed upstairs to play video games, Emma and Daniel lingered in the quiet garage. Tools glinted beneath a single bulb. The scent of sawdust and cinnamon cookies hovered in the air. "Thank you," Daniel said. "Benjamin's been a little withdrawn since the divorce. This project gives him something to look forward to." Emma brushed a stray curl from her forehead. "I understand. Lily lost her dad 3 years ago. Car accident. School projects became our bonding ritual." She hesitated, surprised at her own candor. Talking about Mark usually reopened a raw ache. Yet with Daniel, the words felt gentle, like peeling off a bandage and finding the wound less angry than expected. He nodded with quiet empathy. "I'm sorry." She met his eyes, hazel with flecks of green, and managed a smile. "Me too. But today felt good." Outside, cicadas droned. Benjamin's victorious shout echoed from the living room. Both parents laughed, a soft duet. "Next weekend at my place?" Emma offered. "It's a date," Daniel said, then cleared his throat. "A build session, I mean." She pretended not to notice his cheeks redden, though her own felt flushed. Week 2 unfolded in Emma's backyard, furnished with folding tables and plastic tarps. Neighbors peeked over fences, intrigued by the miniature construction site. Daniel arrived hauling plywood and a toolbox larger than most toddlers. Emma provided paints, measuring cups, and a Bluetooth speaker pumping classic rock. Together they assembled the new volcano's base. Chicken wire skeleton, plaster cloth exterior, 2 internal chambers, one for viscous lava, another for gas release. A battery-powered valve system, courtesy of Daniel's tinkering, would synchronize the flow. When Lily suggested integrating LED strips so the mountain glowed from within, Daniel's grin stretched ear to ear. "Brilliant," he declared. Benjamin instantly opened his laptop, coding an Arduino board to pulse the lights during eruption. Emma watched father and son huddle over circuits, something tender tugging at her chest. Daniel's patience, guiding Benjamin's small hands, celebrating each successful test, reminded her of Mark's gentle coaching during Lily's early bicycle lessons. Grief pinched inside her ribs, but alongside it swelled unexpected hope that good men still existed, that Lily might have another adult in her corner one day. Later, while the kids painted volcanic strata, Emma and Daniel collapsed onto lawn chairs, twilight drizzled lavender across the sky. The conversation meandered. Childhood memories, favorite pizza toppings, her, pineapple, him, vehement no, guilty pleasure TV shows. When Emma confessed she'd binge-watched cheesy paranormal dramas during sleepless, widowed nights, Daniel laughed so hard he nearly toppled his chair. "Hold on," he gasped between chuckles. You're telling me you own multiple seasons of Ghosts of Yesteryear? Collector's edition DVDs, she admitted, cheeks burning. Daniel wiped a tear of mirth, then sobered. I haven't laughed like this in months. His gaze lingered, warm and open. Emma felt a flutter she hadn't experienced since college. A dizzy, delicious anticipation. A porch light flickered on. The spell broke, but the sensation remained, humming under her skin. By week 4, the volcano stood nearly 3 feet tall, its surface textured with ridges and microcraters. The kids dubbed it Vulcan 2.0. They performed trial eruptions on Emma's driveway, photographing each result. Neighbors applauded from across the street. Passers-by slowed their cars to marvel at the spectacle of neon orange lava flowing in steady, glittery waves. The more they tested, the more Emma and Daniel found excuses to stay after cleanup. A quick coffee became dinner delivery. An extra calibration morphed into stargazing on the deck, wrapped in shared blankets, while the kids camped indoors with popcorn and animated movies. One night, wind rattled the windows and thunder rolled across the suburb. Mid-storm, a fuse blew, plunging the house into darkness. Lily shrieked, Benjamin yelped, and Emma nearly dropped her flashlight. "Stay calm, scientists," Daniel announced, his voice a lighthouse in the sudden black ocean. He rummaged through his bag and produced a portable battery pack, originally intended for the volcano's pump, and used it to power emergency LEDs. Soft blue light bathed the hallway. The kids' panic subsided into wide-eyed awe. "See?" Daniel grinned. "Science saves the day." Later, after power returned and children drifted asleep, Emma poured 2 mugs of chamomile and led Daniel onto the porch. Rain tapped gently now. The storm's fury spent. Candlelight, courtesy of Lily's craft supplies, quivered between them. "I'm glad you were here tonight," Emma said. "You turn chaos into calm." Daniel traced the rim of his mug, hesitant. "Truth is, most days I feel like I'm fumbling. When Benjamin cries after visits with his mom, I'm clueless. But with you," he exhaled, "it's easier." Emma's heart thudded. Raindrops glimmered on Daniel's dark hair, catching porch light. She lifted a hand, brushed one droplet from his temple. Their eyes met, and the universe seemed to shrink until only the space between their mouths existed. The kiss was gentle, exploratory, a question asked in warmth and answered with a sigh. When they parted, Emma's cheeks ached from smiling. She whispered, "Experiment successful," he replied, "highly repeatable." The day of the regional science fair dawned crisp and bright. Lily wore a red bandana to honor the original eruption. Benjamin sported a tie emblazoned with chemical formulas. Emma balanced a thermos of coffee in one hand and a toolbox in the other. Daniel hauled Vulcan 2.0 on a rolling cart, its glossy slopes gleaming beneath a sheet. Inside the county convention center, rows of tables hosted projects ranging from solar ovens to homemade robots. The volcano team set up near a display of renewable energy pinwheels. Emma tightened bolts. Daniel double-checked tubing. Lily arranged handouts explaining basaltic magma. Benjamin synced LED pulses to dramatic drum beats pre-recorded on his phone. Judges circulated, clipboards poised. When they reached the volcano, Lily took a steadying breath. "Good morning. We're demonstrating controlled volcanic eruption using pressurized bicarbonate reaction." Her voice wavered but held. Benjamin seamlessly elaborated on viscosity variables. The judges nodded, intrigued. At the cue, music swelled. Daniel opened the valve. Viscous, glittering lava surged from Vulcan 2.0's crater, cascaded down terrace slopes, and pooled into a moat lined with miniature trees. LED lights pulsed red-orange, giving the illusion of molten glow. The reaction lasted 30 seconds, long enough to dazzle, short enough to stay contained. Not a single drop escaped the catch basin. Applause erupted. One judge leaned over to whisper, "Best volcano I've seen in 20 years." When results were announced later that afternoon, Lily and Benjamin gripped each other's hands. First place went to an 8th grader's robotic prosthetic prototype, deservedly impressive. Second place, however, went to volcanologists in training. Lily yelped. Benjamin's tie nearly strangled him as he whooped. Emma and Daniel lifted the kids into the air, 4 hearts pounding with shared triumph. After photographs, the families wandered outside into golden light. Lily clutched the silver medal. Benjamin carried a certificate the size of his torso. Emma and Daniel lagged behind, fingers brushing. "Pizza to celebrate?" she suggested. "As long as you skip the pineapple," he teased. She gasped in mock offense. "Blasphemy!" Their laughter mingled with the children's chirping excitement. They looked, to casual observers, like any family strolling on a sunny afternoon. But for Emma and Daniel, the path ahead still felt new, fragile, exhilarating. A month later, school hosted a small assembly honoring regional winners. Vulcan 2.0, retired from competition, sat on stage for one final demonstration. Lily and Benjamin performed the eruption flawlessly, drawing cheers from classmates. Afterward, Emma found Daniel in the hallway, leaning against a trophy case. He wore a navy blazer she recognized from their second date at the community theater. She touched his sleeve. Hey. His eyes twinkled. "Guess what Principal Watkins asked?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "She wants us to run the science club next year," Emma laughed. "Us? As in, collectively her disaster duo?" "That's the one." He straightened. "I told her I needed to confer with my project partner." Emma pretended to mull it over. "Well, I could be persuaded. Payment in lab equipment and cafeteria coffee." He slipped an arm around her waist. "Deal. With hazard pay for potential explosions." Their reflection shimmered in the trophy case glass. 2 adults, slightly rumpled by life, standing closer than friends, steadier than strangers. Emma tightened her arms around him, settling into the shape of a future she hadn't dared imagine during lonely nights of grief. Maybe love didn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it flowed slow and warm, like controlled lava lighting up the contours of new terrain. "Ready for another experiment?" Daniel murmured. Emma rose on tiptoes, kissed him softly. "Always." That summer, the Science Club pilot program met in the middle school lab every Wednesday. 20 students signed up, some eager, some just escaping heat. Emma taught them to test soil pH. Daniel supervised a bridge building contest. Lily and Benjamin, newly minted assistant mentors, showcased Vulcan 2.0, now modified to erupt in rainbow layers. On the final day, the club presented projects to parents. A banner overhead read, "Embrace curiosity. Expect the unexpected." Emma caught Daniel's hand and squeezed. "Look what we started," she whispered. He squeezed back. "And we're just getting started." After cleanup, the 2 families walked to the ice cream parlor. Lily and Benjamin ran ahead, arguing over sprinkles. Daniel slipped his fingers through Emma's, their steps sinking without thought. Heat rippled off pavement. Cicadas hummed. Life, messy and marvelous, stretched before them like an open lab notebook, pages primed for hypotheses, sketches, bursts of color. Emma glanced at Daniel. Sunlight haloed his profile. A memory flashed. The first chaotic explosion in the gym. Red foam everywhere. Strangers united by disaster. She smiled at the cosmic irony that sometimes the best reactions come from accidents. "So," she said, teasing, "about pineapple on pizza? Willing to run another trial?" He groaned theatrically, but pulled her closer. "For the sake of science, I'll allow 1 slice." They rounded the corner toward sweet, sticky bliss. laughter bubbling between them, laughter that sounded, to anyone listening, suspiciously like the beginning of something wonderful.